Little is known about the history of Togo before the late 15th century when Portuguese explorers arrived. Although there are signs of Iwi settlement for several countries before their arrival, various tribes moved into the country from all sides. The Iwi from Benin and the Mina and Nguyen from Ghana. These three groups settled along the coast. Before the colonial period, the various ethnic groups in Togo had little contact with each other, except for the two small kingdoms in the north. The territory consisted of groups of villages which were under military pressure from the two neighboring West African powers, the Ashanti and the Dahomey. The first Europeans to see Togo were João de Santarém and Pedro Escobar, the Portuguese explorers who sailed along its coast between 1471 and 1473. The Portuguese built forts in the neighboring Ghana at Elimina and Benin at Oida. Although the coast of Togo had no natural harbors, the Portuguese did trade at a small fort at Porto Seguro. For the next 200 years, the coastal region was a major trading center for Europeans in search of slaves, earning Togo and the surrounding region the name of the Slave Coast. The German Empire established the Protectorate of Togoland in what is now the nation of Togo and most of what is called the Volta region of Ghana. In 1844, during the period generally known as the Scramble for Africa, Gustav Nachtigal, Germany's commissioner for West Africa, who oversaw both the inclusion of Togoland as well as Cameroon into the German colonial empire, had negotiated with King Mlapa III to gain control of the coast of what would eventually become Togoland, particularly the cities of Lome, Sebe, and Ahaneo. France, at the time controller of neighboring Benin, recognized German rule in the region on 24th December 1885. The colony was established in part of what was then the Slave Coast, and German control was gradually extended inland. Because it became Germany's only self-supporting colony, and because of its extensive rail and road infrastructure, Germany had opened Togo's first rail line between Lome and Aneo in 1905. Togoland was known as its model possession. At the outbreak of the First World War in 1914, the colony was drawn into the conflict. It was invaded and quickly overrun by British and French forces during the Togoland campaign and placed under military rule in 1916. The territory was divided into separate British and French administrative zones, and this was formalized in 1922 with the creation of British Togoland and French Togoland. Togoland formally became a League of Nations mandate, divided from administrative purposes between France and the United Kingdom. After World War I, newly found Czechoslovakia was also interested in this colony, but this idea did not succeed. Lome was initially allocated to the British zone, but after negotiations transferred to France 1st of October 1920. After World War II, the mandate became a UN trust territory administered by the United Kingdom and France. During the mandate and trusteeship periods, Western Togo was administered as part of the British Gold Coast. In December 1956, the residents of British Togoland voted to join the Gold Coast as part of the new independent nation of Ghana. On the 27th of April 1960, in a smooth transition, Togo served its constitutional ties with France, shed its UN trusteeship status, and became fully independent under provisional constitution with Olympio as president. A new constitution adopted by referendum in 1961 established an executive president elected for 7 years by universal suffrage and a weak National Assembly. The president was empowered to appoint ministers and dissolve the assembly, holding a monopoly of executive power. In elections that year, from which Grunsky's party was disqualified, Olympio's party won 100% of the vote and all 51 nation assembly seats, and he became Togo's first elected president. During this period, 4 principal political parties existed in Togo: the leftist Juvento, the Democratic Union of the Togolese People, the PTP, founded by Grunsky but having limited support, and the Party of the Togolese Unity, the party of President Olympio. Rivalries between elements of this party had begun as early as the 1940s, and they became to a head with Olympio dissolving the opposition parties in January 1962. Because of the alleged plot against the majority party government, the reign of Olympio was marked by the terror of his militia, the blood soldiers. Many opposition members, including Grunsky and Batachi, were jailed or fled to avoid arrest. On the 13th of January 1963, Olympia was overthrown and killed in a coup d'etat led by army non-commissioned officer. Dissatisfied with conditions following their discharge from the French army, Grunitzky returned from exile 2 days later to head a provisional government with the title of Prime Minister. On the 5th of May 1963, the Togolese adopted a new constitution by referendum, which reinstated a multi-party system. They also voted in a general election to choose deputies from all political parties for the National Assembly and elected Grunitzky as president and Antoine Miachi as vice president. 9 days later, President Grunitzky formed the government in which all parties were represented. During the next several years, the Grunitzky government's power became insecure. On the 21st of November 1966, an attempt to overthrow Grunitzky, inspired principally by civilian political opponents in the UT party, was unsuccessful. Grunitzky then tried to lessen his reliance on the army, but on 13th January 1967, a coup led by LT Col Etienne Iyadama, later General Ganasbi Iyadama, and Kleber Dadjo, ousted President Grunitzky without bloodshed. Following the coup, political parties were banned and all constitutional processes were suspended. Dadjo became the chairman of the Committee of National Reconciliation, which ruled the country until 14th of April. When Iyadama assumed the presidency in late 1969, a single national party, the Rally of the Togolese People, was created, and President Iyadama was elected party president on 29th of November 1969. In 1972, a referendum, in which Iyadama ran unopposed, confirmed his role as the country's president.